Welcome to episode 38 of Raff Stuff. Tonight, a couple of verbal essays, city versus country living, and the joys of standing out in the fog. Also, an excerpt from Rapid Raff Runs the Roads number 8, the trip from Spruce Pine down to Marion, North Carolina. Ride with me down the twisty-turny Highway 226.
Hi, this is Ralph Roberts here on the farm in Alexander, and this is one of my favorite times of day, the evening. It's 8:25 actually as we're filming this on a Sunday evening, and one of the old fences on the farm that I'm leaning against, and you can see various trees and so forth behind me. Now I know a lot of you folks that live in the city are a little, wonder a little bit about living in the country, and I'm afraid I have to report that some of you couldn't handle the hustle and bustle out here. There's all this beauty of nature constantly impinging on your senses. You better stick with traffic and tons of rude pedestrians and things like that. It takes getting used to living out in the country and seeing all these wonderful things, the green trees, the mountains off in the distance, feeling the breeze on your face without any smelling any diesel fumes. I'm just being frank with you. This is something that you gotta work your way up to. It takes years and years of practice to be able to live in the country. You know, I know you guys are probably pretty good at walking down city streets and feeling the heat reflected back up off the asphalt and the concrete, and days here in July and August when you can fry your eggs on the sidewalk. Well, here in the country, we fry our eggs on the stove every morning and have a good breakfast, because we know we're going to need the energy when we step out the door just to handle all this glory of nature. You can't do it without a full stomach, that's for sure. It takes a real effort. That's what I'm trying to get across to y'all. You can't just live in the country unless you prepare yourself for it. Now, in the city, you know when you're pretty safe. Out here in the country, you never know when a flower's going to accost you, and you're just going to have to stop and look at it because it's so doggone pretty. And you know, you don't run into things like that in a metropolis like Asheville, which is full of just buildings and stuff. You know, a lot of people talk about how beautiful Asheville is, but it's just concrete. It's all man-made stuff. It's not all this good stuff. Even the weeds look good. Even the weeds out in the country look better than city weeds, I want to tell you. There's no question about it. The high grass, I don't know when you see it behind me here, this is what we call a pokeweed. And pokeweeds are prettier in the country than they are in the city. In fact, most self-respecting pokeweed wouldn't grow in the city. They just don't like it there. They don't like the fumes and the crowds and all the rest of it. So I'm just trying to help you out and educate you a little bit here, because the city is really much easier to live in than the country. So don't come out here. Don't come out. Just stay in the city where you're safe and where you're used to it. You don't have to expend much effort to live. And those of us who have spent a lifetime living in the country out here and are used to it, well, we'll just have to stay here and enjoy it. It's a lot for you to ask of us, but I, for one, am willing to do it. Thank you very much. This is my pet tree, Zebediah. Now, Zebediah is so happy to see me that he's almost jumping over this fence here. You can see how he's anxious. Good tree. Down boy. Out here in the country, you know, we prize our trees. And Zeb, he's a good tree. I'm not even sure what kind he is, but he's sort of a mongrel, I guess. He just sort of grew here and down boy, good boy. And he's growing pretty tall now, and it's just runs around all over the place, having a good time down here by the there's a branch back down in there. You can't see. A branch is a small creek. A creek is a large branch, for those of you who don't know the terminology of the country here. But, oh, yeah, okay. I'll throw you some fertilizer out shortly. Just take it easy there. So, I just thought you'd like to meet my pet tree. I've got a lot of pet trees. I've got hundreds of pet trees on the property here. So, it's hard to keep them from being so rambunctious, but that's something you city folks don't have to worry about. You don't have that many trees left anymore. Good morning, this is Ralph Roberts in the county of Buncombe in the mountains of western North Carolina, here on just after 7 a.m. early in the morning. Now, I'm not a fan of early morning. I tend to sleep a bit later than this. However, there is a certain reward to getting up this early, and one of them's the joy of fog. Fog, that soft gray cloak that covers the world and turns everything wondrously gentle. Fog, it's wonderful. As you can see behind me on the farm here, the fog cloaks the trees and gives everything soft, gentle edges. So it's a wonderful thing being here, being up this early and being able to see the fog and all. Or you can't see too far in it, but now we typically have morning fog in western North Carolina in the mountains, due in large part to the fact that the mountains totally surround us. We're in a huge mountain valley here near Asheville, North Carolina, and it tends to hold the water vapor in. So we have these fogs that last until 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning when they're finally burned off by the sun. But it is so nice while it's here. Feels good too. There's a lot of water in the air, certainly not dry. And just hope the lens of my camera doesn't collect too much water. We're trying out our new camera here. I've mentioned it in previous shows that we recently purchased, and it's doing a good job. Good high definition camera that does good color and good sound and all the rest of the stuff you need to turn out professional videos. So the tree directly behind me is a maple tree, by the way. We have a number of maple trees here on the farm. I like maples. They grow fast and really look good. And anything looks good in the fog, even the weeds and so forth, as I mentioned in my previous verbal essay. Even the weeds look better in the country than in the city, and yet even better when they're covered and shrouded by fog. Someone else is up early going to work. I hear a car going up the road. I don't know whether this particular mic is picking up that far away or not. But generally, I just want to give you the ambience of what it's like to be standing out here on the farm on an early summer morning, August the 3rd, 2007, and enjoying the fog. So I think I'll enjoy a big pot of coffee right after this segment's filmed. Another car going down the road. People going to work. I'm lucky in the fact that back in 1976 I created my own job right here on the farm. So I've been working here ever since. I get up and step out of the house, walk across the yard, and I'm at work at the office building I've built here on the farm. So it sure beats the commute. I can remember those even back in the early 70s, there was a lot of traffic when you try to go into Iceville, go to work. For a while, I worked out in Black Mountain, which is all the way across Iceville from Alexander, where I live. And that was in the days before the cut through Bowcatcher Mountain that made I-240 possible. So we had to go through the tunnel, had to drive all the way through Iceville, through the tunnel. Roads were mostly 2 lanes. I-40 wasn't open then, so I'd take 70 out to Black Mountain. And it just wasn't fun. As a matter of fact, I got to see a lot of fog because I'd have to leave here about 6:30 in the morning to make it on time. So sometimes some parts of the good old days weren't good. Most of it was, but some of it wasn't. So I like the fact that I control my own destiny now and have my own businesses and can pretty much do what I want to, such as when I wake up early, coming out and filming this for you guys to see how nice it is out here and how peaceful. And well, here comes another car. That's 3 cars I've seen since I got up. Now that traffic's getting too heavy out here. We're gonna have to do something about that, I guess. We don't need a lot of traffic out in the country. As I encouraged all you city folk in the previous essay, please stay in the city. You like it there, stay there. Those of us who have to live out here in the country, and we'll do it for you. As I said before, it's a lot to ask, but I enjoy living in the country, so let me do it for you so you don't have to, okay? No, really, country living is wonderful. And it's become even more wonderful with the advent of technology, because we no longer have to get up early in the morning and go down the hill to the spring and carry water back up. We have wells with electric pumps and all the rest. Oh gee, there goes a dump truck or something. That's loud. That's 4 vehicles so far this morning. Somewhere up on the hill behind me at the there's a housing development being built up there. That's the nice thing about the fog. It covers up development also. Oh, he could use a little work on his brakes, sounds like. Anyway, getting back to technology and living in the country, you know, we got electricity now. We got satellite TV, because cable's not reliable out here. Got satellite TV, and I got a T1 line to the internet. I mean, you can't get much better than that. That's a big, as they call it, a big fat pipe to the internet. I can punch a lot of data back and forth through that thing. So it's nice, and that means that a lot of people like me can have businesses at wherever they live, instead of having to have an office downtown and all the unnice things that entails, the crowded conditions and and the rest of it. And that brings up another point I'd like to make while we're talking about country versus city. They're trying to zone us out here in the county. We hope that will eventually fail, even though the county commissioners have pushed it through without a vote. Right now, we're going to de-elect some commissioners and see if we can change that back. But zoning is an old concept, an old mid to early 20th century concept that never really worked for any place. Let's use Iceville as an example. Look at all the mountains around, immediately around Iceville, the mountains within the city limits of Iceville, like Bowcatcher and Town Mountain and so forth. They're covered with condos and so forth. So zoning did not work within the city that's had zoning for several decades. Zoning actually will no longer work because the world's changed and technology has changed it. We're in a mixed-use world now. For example, I live on the old family farm I grew up on that's been in my family for a while. but I run several highly technical businesses that actually sell stuff worldwide. So should I be restricted to be called a residential area? No. I had a friend who began selling batteries on eBay a number of years ago, and his business got so good that he had to build a small warehouse out behind his house. Should he be restricted from doing that simply because he's in a residential area? No. The old zoning rules no longer apply to the modern world. So we need to come up with some other way. And there are various cities such as Boulder, Colorado, for example, who are doing mixed-use zoning and not restricting it to residential and commercial and all the other little persnickety designations that zoning commissions come up with. And I can get more onto that later. I hear some sort of construction equipment running up behind me now. But the world's changed, and trying to fit it into the old zoning model just no longer works. I'll have to expound on that more in later shows. But well, it's getting noisy here, so I'm not going to talk too much longer. But fog's nice. Fog can even soften the city. So, oh wait a minute, that's smog. That's a different thing. We don't have smog out here in the country unless it blows toward us from the city. So anyway, there are advantages to wherever you live, and we wish you all the very best. And just stay out there in the city, and we'll handle the country for you. Thank you very much. It's Ralph Roberts reporting on a foggy morning in Alexander, North Carolina, in the land of the sky. And we'll see the sky about 10 o'clock, but not yet. Thank you very much.
And we're leaving Mitchell County and moving into McDowell County as we're going to the Parkway. Okay, now right here's where I made the mistake. I should have turned left. That's 226, the main road down the mountain. However, having been this way before, albeit years ago, I just naturally assumed the road still ran the way the old road did before. A dangerous assumption in western North Carolina, where roads are changing almost daily. But it took me a little while to realize the mistake and to turn around. In the meantime, I was moving along quite nicely, going up the mountain, and then would go, or if I'd stayed on the road, it would have dramatically gone down the mountain, even more so than the main road that we're going to go back and get on. However, as I mentioned earlier, while I eventually thought this was a mistake, that I'd taken the wrong road, I realized that it would have made a much better show even if I'd gone on down this way through Little Switzerland proper and really shown you how beautiful the terrain is. You can tell by looking out there at the left, we're up very high right now. There's a precipitous drop in the terrain between Mitchell County and McDowell County. Again, going down from the mountains to, if not precisely the Piedmont, certainly the foothills of the mountains, but it's over 1,000 feet in elevation drop in a very short period of time. However, I will pay for my mistake later by going back this way and creating you yet another show. And probably as spring comes along, it'll be in the summer, and the greenery, all the trees will have their greenery on, and it will look even more striking than it does now. Remember, this is January the 6th, so only the evergreens are green. Most of the Trees are without leaves, and the smaller vegetation is not flowering or anything. Look out that way. There's definitely mountains in this area. Definitely mountains. Ever wonder how many mountains there are in western North Carolina? I have no idea, but I can tell you a lot. A lot of beautiful mountains. How can anyone live in flat country? I just have never been able to understand that. During the times in my life when I've been forced to spend time in flat country, like when I was away at college or in the Army, I've always missed my mountains. This is truly God's country, and I enjoy so much living up here. But at the moment, we're going back down alternate 226, and I know now that I needed to have turned left, and in this case, coming from the opposite direction, would be turning right. A few little businesses here. More on in the town of Little Switzerland, which is back the way we're coming from right now. Okay, now there's a sign, Marion, 14 miles, 226. This is the main 226. I wait for the car to go by, and now we're moving down it. And one of the first things I'm doing is gearing down. I made this little speech in the trip we made to Mount Mitchell, which was 2 weeks ago. We're up really high and we're going down really steep. So if you're riding your brakes, you're heating them up, and occasionally brakes fail and crashes result, especially some of the big trucks. But even a passenger car, if you use the brakes too much in too short a period, they can heat up and fail. So I strongly suggest that you use lower gears in your car. Even an automatic transmission has lower gear, and by using lower gear and letting the engine hold you back, it's a whole lot safer than riding the brake. We have a tremendous amount of jokes about Florida drivers, which I'll be nice and not repeat, but most of them stem, it seems, from the fact you can tell somebody's from flatlands if they're riding the brakes down the mountain. And here we go. It's like a roller coaster. And although I am used to driving on roads like this and tend to go a little bit faster than people from outside the area, I still respect mountain grades very much. See the warning sign up there? Too fast when flashing, and they mean that. And people live up here, as you can see, the trailer we passed. Oh, my windshield's a little dirty. Very hard to keep them clean. As I've mentioned about that a number of times, we chalk that up to realism. I mean, windshields get dirty, especially driving through weather and the like. So even though I clean my windshield more often than normal, since I'm filming through it, when the light's just right, you see all the dirt and stuff. You can watch it and see how it comes and goes. Really need a polarizing filter, which would take care of a lot of that, but since I'm the only one in the car usually on these trips, I can't reach over there and adjust a lens all the time. I would quite quickly crash. This is a sand trap where trucks that are out of control can zip over there, and the soft sand will bring them to a rather abrupt stop. But it's a lot better than going off the side of the mountain. As you can see, we're still up pretty high, even though we've dropped a lot. And this is the majority of that 1,000-foot drop, this 2 or 3 miles of road. So we are definitely going down, dive. as the old submarine movies used to do. Okay, the white SUV. I'm in a white SUV. The Lieutenant Colonel's white. There's someone's home on the right. They're up here by themselves. And there was a whole bunch of mailboxes. Dump trucks struggling up the hill. And school bus entrance. Interesting. Kids up here, of course, they have to go to school. We hope they learn something. That's good. Now we're getting down more into civilization. A lot more trailers out in the surrounding counties than in Buncombe County now. It's a lot less expensive to live in outside Buncombe County now. I was listening to one of the talk radio stations in Nashville had some discussion of that just yesterday, that a lot of people who may not have very high income are being forced out of Buncombe County just because the living expenses are getting so much. So they go to Yancey County or Mitchell or Madison and places like that where they can have a trailer and it won't cost them quite as much to live. In other words, the fight for affordable housing in Buncombe County is not doing too well, mainly because of such high influx of people from up north who are willing to pay a lot more for a house than perhaps the average working person can afford. We pass a church on the right. You can get to look at the spots on my windshield one more time. School bus stop ahead. Big tank truck going up the mountain. There's a small creek over on the right. We're still up reasonably high, although we've dropped several hundred feet in about 2 miles. And the road gets more level and somewhat less curvy as we move on in towards Marion. Marion's still about 7 or 8 miles away. Marion, of course, being the county seat of McDowell County. This is where 226 alternate comes back into 226. And again, of course, it used to be the main road up the mountain through Little Switzerland, the place, the town itself, which is very quaint, and we missed most of it. But if anyone hasn't figured out by now why they call this area Little Switzerland with all the mountains and the rugged alpine terrain, then the reason is because of all the mountains and the rugged alpine terrain. Very apt name, actually. Like the Alps in Europe. The Alps. The mountains, which I've seen and are indeed very nice, but I prefer our North Carolina mountains. I know those and love those. Go to ralphwroberts.com to see this show again.